Well, hello class. Welcome to the start of Unit 7. Believe it or not, we are 3 weeks away from the end of the term. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do this week. I'm going to talk about where we're headed for the next unit, so Unit 7. And then probably midweek, I'm going to come in and I'm going to respond to some of the questions that you will ask in Unit 7 that are going to be due next Sunday. But probably even before I do that, I'm thinking maybe a Wednesday or a Thursday, maybe as late as a Friday. I'm going to come in and share some thoughts as far as where we're headed for our final assignments. Okay, so you've just now turned in your well-being paper, so thank you for that. That was a while back. And I've gotten now all of your vocation and call and response papers, which I will get back to you very soon. So thank you for those. Really looking forward to getting those back to you and giving you some hopefully very in-depth feedback. These are always a favorite of mine to read, to grade, and then to send back to students. I think it's a really important portion of this class. So thanks for that. And then the third major assignments that we have, or what we have at the end of our term, there's a video presentation that you will make, and then you'll also have a chance to kind of, I'll put in quotations, play career counselor from an intake perspective. And we'll talk more about that in a video I'll share probably later this week. Okay? So, and I mean not just this unit, but later this week. Probably, like I said, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, somewhere in that time frame. So here we go in Unit 7. We'll be reading chapters 15 and 16. And I love these chapters because these chapters are really where you're probably going to spend the bulk of your time in doing this work. Okay, so some of you may end up working with younger folks. You may be working with maybe even as young as elementary school, maybe some middle school, and some high schoolers. Chances are, though, that the vast majority of you in the work that you're going to go do when you're done with your degree will be for this emerging adulthood and adulthood population. Okay, so there's a reason that I think it's what chapters 12, 13, and 14 are skipped. It's not because they're not good chapters. They're actually great chapters. I love the chapters. I think the content is fantastic and important, but we had to choose what are we going to leave out of the class, and because this is not going to be your target population, I have made the executive decision to leave those chapters out of our assigned reading, though I do hope that you will go back and read them if you haven't already, just in your own spare time, not just for fun, but I think for information, because it's really helpful to help kind of continue to paint the picture of the holistic approach to career counseling. Okay, but this week, this unit, we're looking at adulthood and emerging adulthood, and then we're also looking at conceptualizing decision-making implementation and adjustment theories. I really like these chapters, specifically in Anderson-Van because they bring up some really important content. Some really important things for us to think about. There's actually a very small section, and when I say small, I mean very small section on spirituality. There's a very small section on coaching as it relates to adulthood. I'm actually looking at changing the book, the main text, in future classes, because this book, although I love Anderson-Van it's now 6-7 years old. And so content-wise, when we're talking about the Great Recession in 2008, that's a decade ago. And so, for some of our students, maybe even you're 25 now, you were 15 then, or maybe you're 24 now, you're 14 then. So you may not have necessarily had firsthand experience with these things. So we need to have something that's a bit more up to date. But I really do like these sections because they at least mention a little bit, but I was looking at this new book I'm thinking about using, and I'm really impressed by the text, but again, there's very little given to religious diversity, there's very little given to spirituality, there's very little given to coaching, but at least there's some. So I think we get some aspects in that are really important to the overall, again, holistic picture of career counseling. So, but these chapters are great. There's just a fantastic video that we watched by Dr. Meg J, and she talks about why 30 is not the new 20. In fact, this was an article that, I'm sorry, not an article, but a video that one of us former students from years back in that section where they had to come up with career development related artifacts, they actually found this video and shared it with me, and I said, this is so good, I've got to read this. So I'm really excited about that. There's a couple of other things that you're going to see in here, some readings. One of them is on role reversal that really started to take place with the Great Recession. Now, there's a lot to be said about the difference of male and female in the workplace. And I'm not trying to get into those conversations. That's a whole different conversation. But I do want us to start to look at this and think about this, because once again, there's an expectation of how things are to be, and how do we deal with that from a personal issue, from a professional issue, from a psychological issue. All of these different realities come into play, and just I think some things to think about that are being dealt with at the emergent adulthood, and especially the adulthood phases, right? So I don't think you deal with it as much. In fact, I know you don't deal with it as much in the junior high, middle school, high school, even elementary school ages, but you absolutely do when you become an adult, and you have to kind of wrestle with these realities. So I think they're great articles for you to read. And there's a couple of great talks. So Shane Achor, man, he's got a great video on the happy secret to better work. I'll warn you, I hope that no one's offended. He makes a little quip in there that some of you, I hope you're not offended by it, but he talks about a weekend, something or other, and it's very quick. But I think it's a great talk. He talks very quickly, so hopefully you can catch all of it, but I really like what he has to say. And then Mahaley, we'll call him, here at CGU they call him Mike, but Mike Csikszentmihalyi talks about flow, the secret to happiness. And these are the things, especially when we become adults, we're not just looking for good jobs, we're looking for happiness, right? So when you're a kid, you're playing in the sandbox, you're always happy, right? My kids, we got a swing set, they're just going down, boom, they're always happy. Junior high, they're still pretty happy. High school is a little angst-ridden, but when you become an adult, you're looking for things that are going to make you happy. And so I think this idea of happiness in the emergent adulthood and adulthood phase is really, really important. So there's not a lot of questions in here for you to respond to. There are some, but really there's just videos for you to think about. And then there's a question about, again, we're going back to the emergent adulthood, but when you lose jobs, or you switch jobs, whether it's right or wrong, the reality still is that you feel like you've lost a certain part of yourself. Some of you is no longer, that was there is no longer there. I mean, that's just the good and honest truth, right? So if I've been someplace, in fact, for me, I left working full-time at Azusa Pacific after 12 and a half years. It started February 6th, actually, 2006. And my last day there was, I think it was August 17th, 2018. So fast forward literally 12 and a half years later, a part of me, maybe that's why I continue to teach adjuncts, because I feel like I need to hang on to the place that really raised me professionally. But part of me was gone. I no longer had that as part of my identity as an employee of APU. Now I still am, so maybe if I were to ever stop teaching adjunct, it would feel a lot different. But for now, yeah, so that's a reality for adults, and something that I think we really need to think about as we contemplate these questions. So what does that look like? What was the impact of changing jobs or fields after being established in another occupation for a substantial period of time? And then the question is, do you think that younger generations will be better equipped for such change? Why or why not? And that's a really important question to ask. I think that there's this idea that the younger generation is more change resilient. I think there's some truth to that. But at the same time, if you're somewhere, or even like when you think about when you're with somebody, or you do something for a really long time, and then you no longer are with them or do that thing, it radically kind of rocks our world. And so these are things that need to be considered, especially as we talk with adults. Okay, so you've just done a fantastic job so far. Your questions have been thoughtful. Your comments have been thoughtful. Your responses to case studies have been very thoughtful. But I want us to continue to kind of just, just prod the animal a little bit, and just continue to go deep and ask these questions and think about all of these contents in the context now as we deal with emerging adults and adults, the reality that probably you yourselves are wrestling with right now. And so perhaps even in this unit's content, this may be one of the more relevant areas of study for you because it's speaking the language of who you are, where you are, and what you're doing. So I hope you find it very valuable. Hope you find it important. Hope there's some great takeaways, and I look forward to your responses. And I look forward to seeing you online this unit. As always, if there's any questions, please let me know how I can help you. Give me an email, give me a call. I'm always happy to support. I haven't heard from a lot of you, which I think is just, for me, status quo, things are good. You're responding well. You're asking great questions. Your involvement in the class so far has been fantastic. But if you do have questions, please know that I will get back to you just as soon as I possibly can. I'm here to help and support in any way I can. All right? Have a great week. We'll see you online.